it's an incredible privilege to have Chancellor Boyce with us today. And I want you to be able to ask him a question as he leads Ole Miss, which is the flagship university of our state. What are the things that he's thinking about need to happen in order for this state to lead on this particular technology, and how in the human capital space, how as we are developing talent, how he thinks this might be deployed. So Chancellor Boyce, we are so honored that you're here with us today. Join a VR round of applause, and we'll turn it over to Chancellor Boyce to introduce yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Can everybody hear me? Hear me okay? All right, great. Look, it's wonderful to be with you this morning. I think it's more of a privilege for me to be with you up here on the moon base. I got here from Oxford pretty quick, so I'm pretty impressed, Vince and Adam, that I could get here that fast. And it's great to be with you. So one of the things I wanted to mention to you, and I love the fact that you understand the ability of this technology, but one of the things I wanted to mention to you is that I really believe that Mississippi's poised and can be poised to be a leader in virtual reality. I think it's one of the industries that we as a state, especially because of the people already engaged and the people that you work with here, could take off and become a pioneer and a leader in. And I'm looking for opportunities that when you come to your institution, and I hope it's Ole Miss, but whatever institution you graduate from, that you'll have a place right here in Mississippi to call home forever. That you'll be able to raise your families, that you'll be able to build careers. It is a passion of mine that we take and have a place for you here, because too many of our graduates and too many of our young people are headed to the bright light cities, is what I call them, and they're headed all over the place to work, and we need you to stay right here at home. We really do. But I also understand that we need you to have careers that can build the kind of lives that you dream of and that you work every day hard to be a part of. So I just want to talk to you about a couple things real quick, and then I want to ask you some questions. Let me first say this. You're having an amazing experience. There are so few students any place in this country who are doing what you're doing. I can't imagine another place in the entire, perhaps world, think about that for a second with me, perhaps in the whole world, who's sitting on the moon right now taking a lesson in 8th grade. It just isn't happening, ladies and gentlemen. So what an opportunity for you to be at the forefront and to be the pioneers as students within this realm. So you actually are going to set the tempo and set the pace for the future. And every day that you're in these virtual classrooms, I can assure you that Adam and Vince in particular are learning something new. And they're learning about how to expand this effort to become more and more effective. And when virtual reality in your lives, and this is the first point I want to stress to you, I think this is very important. When virtual reality 20 years from now is everywhere, and when virtual reality has consumed the nation, you're going to be able to say, oh, by the way, I was one of the first, if not the first, to ever experience virtual reality in the education setting. That's pretty special, pretty dynamic. I'm proud that if I'm here 20 years from now, I got to tell you, folks, I'm proud that I can stand up here and say, hey, one of my first talks ever in virtual reality was to Benedict Day School, and I'll remember that. 8th graders at Benedict Day School. What a privilege it is. You know, the next thing that's going to happen is this. You're going to learn about technology at a level that others aren't. And so think about this for a second. Think about, and I'll tell you what technology looked like 45 years ago or 50 years ago when I was in 8th grade. I'll tell you what technology looked like. It looked like paper and pen and magazines. And TV. And I had a TV with an antenna and 3 TV stations, and that was it. Grew up in a rural area, much like Sumerall, and look, 3 TV stations, that was technology, a record player and a radio. Now here it is, we're looking and we're having class on the moon. So I ask you this question, okay? I want to ask you this question. I really stretch your minds here, see if you can give me an answer, because this is a tough one. And this is how I've been talking all across the state. So here's my question to you, okay? What is it going to look like in your world 50 years from now? Tell me what it's going to look like 50 years from now. Kinley, nice to see you. What's it going to look like from a technology standpoint? What is your world going to look like 50 years from now?
So for my futurists in the room, I want to hear from you guys, Denali, David, Eli, Adeline, Heidi. What will this look like 50 years from now? I would like everyone to participate.
I feel like more jobs will be online, and like through VR, especially like conference calls and stuff, and interviews for jobs.
Adam, and I think you're right on. Matter of fact, I'll tell you what, I think what you just said is so powerful that I would contend to you that since this coronavirus has been here, we have learned how to work at home as a nation in many ways. And I would contend to you that VR will absolutely take us home. And interestingly enough, jobs and employment from a home space will look far different and look much like this in conferencing and making decisions. Then we won't need all these huge buildings. It'll be interesting to see if we have enormous buildings all across America sitting empty because it just isn't necessary to have structures like that. It'll be interesting to see if schools are sitting empty. Go ahead, please. Denali?
Okay. I feel like a lot more jobs would be technology based. So like because of corona thing and how everyone's working from home, a lot more jobs might be based at home. So a lot more people would be able to like work with that and jobs would be more flexible.
And no question about it. The other thing I wanted to say, Denali, along those lines, I think is very important, is think about how we're doing technology today. You can walk into some grocery stores, right, into some stores in America. You can just put the stuff in your cart, walk out, and you got scanners who are automatically scanning everything, and then you're going to pay the bill by getting your phone out. And that's how you're taking and shopping these days. So think about how that's going to change in 20 to 50 years. So my point to all of you is your entire lives will be consumed with the ability to use technology, but not just the ability to use it. It'll be the ability to develop it, the ability to implement it, the ability to be creative and grow the next wave, whatever the next wave may be. It'll be a fascinating time throughout your entire careers. Second thing I wanted to mention to you is this, and I think it's very important, okay, for the future, and that is your efforts to learn. Your efforts to learn are going to be critical. So I want to tell you something that I tell every place I go speak, and I have hundreds of opportunities to speak every year, literally. And I want to tell you this because I think it's very, very important. You, unlike any generation ever, will have to be lifelong learners. And I know you may not want to hear that, but it's the absolute truth. New technology is going to come at you so fast and so hard. Different ways of living are going to come with this new technology. Different ways of relationship building are going to come with this technology that you're going to have to continue to learn throughout your life. Now, let me give you a quick thought. When I was growing up way back in another ancient day, I will tell you that I could get a high school diploma like you're headed toward, and I could get a decent job and make a decent living. It wouldn't be great, but it'd be okay. I could feed my family and so on and so forth, perhaps. Back then, a college education was the great separator. Wow, people who had a college degree, they really had opportunities because there were very few of them back then. Well, fast forward to today, I can tell you that today, these are just steps in the journey. A diploma is one step. A bachelor degree is simply a step. What the great separator is at this very moment is a master's or doctoral degree or a professional school degree such as law, pharmacy, medical fields, etc. That is the great separator in today's advancement and career workforce. So you are going to have to continue your education and keep pushing and pushing beyond certainly what I had to do 40 years ago. And certainly you're going to have to go beyond even what was done 20 years ago. I have 3 daughters, 32, 28, and 27. And every one of them understood that to separate themselves from the pack and get the best jobs in America, the best promotions in America, they had to continue their educations beyond bachelor's degree. So please understand, ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a lifelong period of learning to be successful. So if you don't enjoy learning now, it's a good time to become passionate about it because it is going to dictate your future. And the other thing I want to say, and then I'm going to ask you one last closing question, but the other thing I want to say to you that's important is this. I want you to know that wherever you decide to stop learning and to stop growing is exactly where your destiny and your legacy stops. It stops right there at that moment. When you decide, I don't want to learn anymore, I'm tired of learning, I'm tired of growing, I'm tired of getting the next degree, I'm tired of advancing myself as an individual, that's the moment that your destiny stops. Your legacy ends right there because you're going to be in a world that will never stop learning, and we're already there, but we're arriving faster and exponentially at a much greater capacity. So let me ask you this question. Tell me about how you think this experience might look if you ended up having to do this full time. If this just wasn't a pilot series, all of a sudden you're here full time, but the difference is you've been able to experience a lot more than just our moon setting. I assume you've been able to travel the world. I assume you've been able to see Victoria Falls and Niagara Falls in New York, and I assume you've been able to see things almost in person feeling that so many students may never see ever in their lifetimes. So talk to me about that for just a second, and tell me about what would it look like and what would be some of the drawbacks too as well if you lived in this community all the way through your high school years.
Being in this space and being in person with like all of these people, and I feel like that's one thing that you just couldn't replicate in VR. So having to go through this like daily and just seeing these people but not actually physically being there would kind of get to you after a while.
Okay. I agree with that, Denali. So, see, these are things, Denali, what you just said, I agree with totally. So these are things that even as you use VR to expand the opportunities, they're going to have to be wrestled with because nothing changes human contact. Nothing changes the relationships and the fellowship that we share as human beings, even something as dynamic as virtual reality. And what's cool about this whole opportunity is think about the opportunity to go to these places in a virtual concept and then to be able to discuss these places where you're going from a geography standpoint all over. Traveling through New York City, how amazing would that be? You know, seeing the city in of itself and stopping at certain restaurants and being able to walk down the sidewalk and feel and experience that. Think about how this virtual reality domain brings some equity to people's lives because not everybody, and matter of fact, millions of people and millions of young people your age will never get the opportunity to see New York City. But to be able to see it in this domain really brings some equity to the world. And I just think that's wonderful, and I think that's outstanding, by the way.
On behalf of Benedict Day School, I just wanted to be able to thank you all, fifth graders, for being engaged, and I wanted for you to join me in thanking Chancellor Boyce again with our VR applause. Thank you, Chancellor.
Thank you. Can they hear me, Vince?
Yes, they can hear you, sir.
Okay, let me just say one thing, Adam, interrupt you real quick. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of making history today. I appreciate this. This is an experience that I will never forget. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of making history today. I appreciate this. This is an experience that I will never forget. Thank you so much.